The National Emergency Management Agency is continuing its assessment of damage caused by the passage of Hurricane Tammy over the weekend. After Tammy dumped over 3.5 inches of rain in heavy showers accompanied by lightning and thunder, the country has gotten back into action with a normal day's work and with all schools reopened this morning. SK Newsline spoke with Mr. Abdel Samuel, the National Disaster Coordinator at the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA.
What we would have experienced on St. Kitts, we would have seen that our waterways, what we call guts, most guts around the entire island would have been running at some point. Some made areas inaccessible, and they were dangerous to traverse. Also, we would have seen in a number of areas right around the island where significant silt would have been delivered to particular areas that would have compromised or disrupted traffic flow, or would have made traffic flow somewhat changing. And we would have seen that in the Lamberts area, we would have seen it in the Bastia area, in particular in the Bay Road, and many other areas throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. In terms of the total, in terms of the damage and the cost of the damage, we have not received the total of that. Our team are still carrying out assessments, and we are hoping to get all that information in short order. No life was lost. We didn't get report of anybody with any injuries as a result. Again, we continue to do assessment. We would have stood down the NEOC on the 22nd at about 10 a.m. So that persons could have gotten home, and we put measures in place to allow the public to be able to seek help and access help if necessary. On Nevis would have experienced some infrastructural damage. And in the Rollins area, there was the washout of a particular road. In the St. James Parish of Nevis, there was challenges with some of the guts and some other low-lying areas that are prone to flooding. That was experienced throughout the island of Nevis.
Samuel reminded us that we are still in the hurricane season and must remain vigilant. Currently, there is an area of disturbed weather in the Atlantic Ocean approaching the Caribbean. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Mikey Mills and Patrice Monzac, both of Newcastle Nevis, have been sentenced to His Majesty's prison. Each male received a sentence of 9 years for the offence of wounding with intent and 7 years for the offence of burglary. Both sentences will run concurrently for each, starting from the remand date of July 18, 2023. These sentences, according to police, will correspond with the November 8, 2018 robbery of John Yearwood. Meanwhile, the police have charged Jamal Kentish of Stoneford Heights, Challengers, St. Kitts, on 2 warrants in the first instance for the offence of robbery committed on October 14th at Instacash in Bastia, St. Kitts. The charges were laid at the Bastia police station on October 20th, 2023. This occurrence follows Mr. Kentish's arrest on October 18th. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Development economist Peter Adrians said economic growth being projected for St. Kitts and Nevis should be viewed in the context of post-COVID environment. In a recent edition of Issues radio program, Mr. Adrians gave an assessment on the current state of the economy.
GDP is estimated to have grown by 9% in 2022, after contrasting by 14.5% in 2020 and 9% in 2021. It says the strong economic rebound was moderated by high fuel prices and food prices. But even then, the staff who did the report for St. Kitts projected at that time that the economy is likely to grow by 4.5%. That's a projection. Mm-hmm. So that's a projection at the time. But one must bear in mind, the best way to understand it, when you have a hurricane, everything mash up, or a lot of things mash up. Mm-hmm. So it means after the hurricane activity, GDP is likely to grow very phenomenal because you are building back. Right. Now, that is not an indication that you are doing well. In fact, in economics, you treat that immediate high growth as an anomaly.
Mr. Adrian said the global economic conditions will have an impact on the St. Kitts Nevis economy.
If you look at the number of externality, the factors that are impacting on the economy since that projection. For example, we are still in the early stage of the post-COVID-19 period. The disruption caused by Russia and Ukraine war is still affecting every facet of production, distribution, and consumption. Even if the supply chain disruptions have kind of normalized. Now, on top of that, what you have is severe high fuel costs.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, in its most recent regional economic outlook on the Caribbean and Latin America, said after a stronger than expected recovery from the pandemic and continued resilience in early 2023, economic growth in the region is softening as the effect of tighter policies to combat inflation is taking hold and the external environment is weakening. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
The anticipated greenhouse initiative of the Ministry of Agriculture was launched near Newton Ground in what will be an island-wide project called the Greenhouse Village Initiative. According to Minister of Agriculture Samuel Duggins, the launch signified the commitment of the government to increase crop production with a sharpened focus on raising sustainable agricultural productivity and reducing the country's food import bill. It is understood that 15 greenhouses will be erected in the first phase of the project, with emphasis on the growing of peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, and leafy greens. From 2021 statistics of St. Kitts and Nevis, over 164.3 million EC dollars of food were imported. Agriculture officials want to cut this import bill by at least 25% by the year 2025 as part of a region-wide attempt by CARICOM to reduce the food import bill to the region in a significant way. Among necessities pointed out in the CARICOM initiative, increasing food production in the region are the need to de-risk the agricultural sector with the provision of insurance and financing and the provision of creative financing programs and substantial technical assistance and training programs. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Member of Parliament Philip Polwell says he has been left heartbroken by the murder of his 10-month-old daughter Saraya and her mother, 27-year-old Tashina Patterson. In a statement Sunday, Polwell said that the past few weeks have been extremely difficult for him. He said nothing could prepare him for the events that have unfolded. According to Mr. Polwell, it's unimaginable that anyone could murder a mother and an innocent baby. He said those behind the crime must be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Mr. Polwell added that he's praying for Tashina's family that is experiencing the unbearable grief and pain of losing their beloved daughter and granddaughter. The MP said he has been in constant dialogue with the police and cooperated fully with the investigation. The police on Friday charged 4 persons in connection with the killings. They are United States Navy Petty Officer 34-year-old Leoda Bradshaw, 30-year-old Roland Lloyd Balfour, and Richard Brown, 31, both Kingston graphic artists, and air conditioning technician 29-year-old Roshane Miller. The police said Miss Patterson and her daughter were killed and their bodies burned and disposed of. They were abducted from their home on Gilmore Drive in St. Andrew on September 9. Prosecutors have alleged that Bradshaw, who has a child with Polwell and considers him to be her spouse, took out a murder contract of $500,000 on the mother and child. A down payment of $100,000 was allegedly paid to carry out the act.
The Ministry of Commerce felt it necessary to present to the public that we are currently experiencing some shortages in the supply of rice, parboiled rice. What we have been doing for the last few weeks, we have been managing the stock, and the levels are low, not because that CARICOM does not have a supply of rice, but there are some supply chain issues with the shipping lines. Initially, we expected to have received 10 containers of rice this Tuesday, but that was delayed. Though you have vessels going into Guyana, but they do not have food-grade containers. Whilst we want to get you the product, it is our duty to get you products that are safe. To date, we have received our bill of lading. So we have that for a fact that we should be receiving 10 containers of rice on the 31st of October. If you go to your neighboring countries, you will know that these products are maybe twice and even 3 times more than what people pay in St. Lucia. Though we pay more for these products, but the prices have not changed. A pound of sugar is $1. A pound of flour is $1. A pound of rice is $1.25. Through the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, if you were to receive any increases in price on these prices, you are to report that immediately. And anybody who sells it out of this will be fined.
Well, the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has called for humanitarian pauses to allow the flow of aid into Gaza. He made that call during a visit to Israel and Palestine. Well, for more, we're now joined by Hoda Abdulhamid, who's in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Hoda, I understand Prime Minister Rutte spoke to you after meeting with Netanyahu. What did he say?
Yes, well, he said that they discussed 4 main points, being the minimizing as much as possible the civilian casualties, maximizing humanitarian aid coming into Gaza, also trying to avoid the threat of this becoming a regional conflict, and the issue of captives held by Hamas and the foreign nationals who are in Gaza, the Netherlands having at least 20 nationals living there and 1 held captive by Hamas. I also asked him about the position of the EU, and he said that the EU backed Israel's right to defend itself while making sure that proportionality is relevant. So when I asked him if 5,000 dead, among which 2,000 children, was enough in matter of proportionality, this is what he had to say.
First of all, I cannot judge, because of course I'm worried, but I cannot judge whether at the moment, yes or no, Israel is completely working within the lines of proportionality and international humanitarian law. I cannot judge it because I do not know all the facts on the table. This, of course, is up to Israel at this moment to navigate. But I very much stress the point, and the practicality of that is the humanitarian access. The practicality of that is preventing regional escalation. The practicality of that taking out the hostages and the foreigners. And the practicality is to do everything. And that's the main issue of preventing innocent civilians to be killed if not necessary.
Hoda, what else did he share with you in that interview?
When I did ask him about humanitarian aid, especially about the issue of fuel, which is direly needed in Gaza, and very quickly, I did ask him if he discussed it with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He said he did. I did ask him if he got any commitment that that would happen. The only answer I got is that at the moment he got the impression that Israel was looking into the issue, but we didn't get any further information about that, meaning, from what I understood, that it's not yet on the table, even though Israel is coming under a lot of pressure.
Hoda Abdul Hamid there for us with that report from Ramallah and the occupied West Bank after speaking to Mark Rutte. Thank you so much, Hoda.
Thousands of men in England and Northern Ireland are missing out on a life-extending prostate cancer drug that's available free on the NHS in Scotland and in Wales. Although not a cure, abiraterone can help stop prostate cancer spreading to other parts of the body. In England and Northern Ireland, the NHS will only provide it for men with very advanced disease when other treatments have failed. Our health editor, Hugh Pym, reports.
I was very shocked, and it's changed the way I feel about a lot of things.
Still swimming and enjoying other hobbies, Giles was diagnosed with prostate cancer in March. He was told a potentially life-saving drug, abiraterone, was not available on the NHS in England, so he's opted to pay for it privately. But in Scotland and Wales, the drug is provided to NHS patients.
I feel very, very fortunate that I can afford it. I think it's outrageous that there are men in England who aren't getting this, who can't afford it. It's not about cost. No one seems to be disputing the science. It seems that it is just a bureaucratic process, which is kind of unbelievable.
The drug abiraterone is only available to the sickest patients. That's what it was originally licensed for. Now it's a lot cheaper, and new research shows it can be effective for men like Giles, whose cancer hasn't spread. The drug was originally developed at this Cancer Research Institute, which now wants it more widely available. The Scottish and Welsh governments have cut through the red tape and given the go-ahead for more men to get it.
It's in a grey area. It's classed as repurposing of drugs.
And how frustrating is that for you and colleagues?
Well, clearly it's very frustrating because this treatment has been through the same sort of guideline process within most of Europe and North America, for example, and of course patients are very aware of that.
The Department of Health covering England said it understood the frustration of some patients who couldn't get the medicine, and the NHS would review wider use next year. David, who lives in Edinburgh, believes abiraterone has made a big difference combined with other treatment. He was diagnosed a year ago and soon afterwards started getting the drug through the NHS in Scotland.
It was an essential part of the treatment that I had, and probably was the most significant factor in a successful outcome.
Cancer charities are pushing for a change in England and Northern Ireland.
So for men newly diagnosed with localised and high-risk disease, this drug can halve the risk of them dying of prostate cancer. So this is a life-saving treatment.
Giles, who's paying £250 a month for the drug, says there's no excuse for further delay.
We in England still haven't got it approved. Thousands of men in England could have benefited from abiraterone, and they are twice as likely to die as they haven't had it. The government and NHS need to work out what the hell is going on and get it sorted now.
Hugh Pym, BBC News, Sussex.
In swimming, Danielle Titus was way below her best in Heat 4 of the women's 200-meter backstroke. The 20-year-old swimming in lane 1 at the top of your screen came in with a qualifying time of 2 minutes 19.35 seconds and finished 8th, stopping the clock in 2 minutes 26.90 seconds. That left her ranked at 24th overall. She will be hoping for improvements in the 100-meter version tomorrow, where she will be in lane 7 at approximately 8:49 a.m. local time. In gymnastics, Anya Pilgrim in the all-around had a good first-time outing at the Pan American Games. The all-around includes the balance beam, floor exercise, bars, and vault. Pilgrim scored a total of 45.366. She had an 11.400 on the balance beam, 9.900 on the uneven bars, 11.266 on the floor, and 12.800 on the vault. That performance left her in 18th position and waiting to see if she can make the cut of 24 athletes for tomorrow's final, with USA locking out the top 3 positions. In shooting, Misha Elliott fought back on day 2 and was 3rd with 48 to be 7th overall on 110 points, just missing out on making the final. On the men's side, Mike Maskell was tied for 14th after rounds 4 and 5 and finished 8th overall with 116 points. Monday will be the mixed team competition. In men's rapid fire pistol, Dave Seal was 20th overall with a total of 519 points after his final rounds. In weightlifting, Daniel Griffith was 5th with a best of 123 in the snatch and 158 in the clean and jerk for a total of 281. All in all, improvements for the Barbados team on day number 2 of the Pan American Games right here in Santiago, Chile. Damien Best, CBC Sports.